Stephen A., how much trouble would Mahomes be in without Kelce in this opener?
Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs will not win a Super Bowl championship without Travis Kelce. Let me be very, very clear about that. That's not that that is the issue here, because we're only talking about him potentially being out for the immediate moment right now. But I just wanted to make that statement to crystallize how important I believe he is to this franchise. They don't win a Super Bowl championship without Travis Kelce, who is arguably the greatest tight end in the history of the sport. It's something that that'll need to be talked about in the weeks and the months to come. Having said all of that, it's not earth-shattering for this particular game. I think that not having him, however, puts the Kansas City Chiefs in a position to lose this game to the Detroit Lions, even if it is at home. If we're going to look at what we've seen from Jared Goff the second half of the season last year, 15 touchdowns, not a single interceptions over the last half of the season, played stellar football. I think he had actually one interception over those last 8 or 9 games. But to see how stellar he is with the weapons that they have available, I am of the mindset that without Travis Kelce tomorrow night, the Kansas City Chiefs lose their opener at Arrowhead Stadium. Okay?
Wow.
That's how I feel about it.
Well, listen, I'm not going to go too far back, and this is a player that he's very familiar with. He's not Kellen Winslow.
I loved Kellen Winslow Sr.
No,
he was
it is
spectacular.
not.
I'm sorry, but he is.
No, he's
but
not.
he is. Yes, he is.
No, he's
And
not.
by the way, we're talking Dan
Play for the
Foucher.
Chargers.
Excuse me.
I know who Kellen
I'm just
Winslow
double
is.
checking.
No, well, listen.
I covered the Sun with the. I'm good.
Here's the deal. Kellen Winslow, Charlie Joyner, Chuck Muncie, Dan Fouts, and those ones. I know exactly who the hell you're
John
talking
Jefferson,
about.
baby.
Listen. Kellen Winslow Sr. was spectacular. I love him. But Travis Kelce is that dude. I'm sorry. He's right there.
Oh, he's
Kellen
great.
Winslow.
Listen, he's going to play. I don't know if he's going to play tomorrow, but this is not out for the year. And I agree with Stephen 100%. I think they'll have trouble winning this game against Detroit. Now, we're giving Detroit a lot of respect. You know, the Lions last year were 1-6. You know, they didn't make the playoffs. They've been awful forever. You know, they're sort of a trendy team. Everybody seems to think they could very well win this division. So we're giving them an awful lot of respect. They won that game against Green Bay. They knocked them out of the playoffs, the whole 9 yards. It seems to think a lot of folks think that could be some carryover for him. But I understand. Without Kelce, it would be very difficult for the Chiefs to win this game. And I don't know if I consider see, the thing about Kelce is with Kansas City, they don't have a great receiver. So if he doesn't play, they don't have a secondary guy. When Hill left, Kelce was there. If Kelce leaves, there's no Hill.
That's right.
So that's why it's very significant. Listen, I don't want to agree with him right at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's the last thing we want to do here is have a little kumbaya with the Lavender Man. We don't want that. But that is an outlandish
Outlandish or outstanding, because you were hyping it up before.
Hey, there was one detail before you jump in here. You said Detroit started what?
1-6 last year.
Yeah, how'd they finish?
Ooh,
Were they 9-8, right?
Oh, they won 8 out of 10 to finish the season. So you just forgot that little detail.
Yeah,
well, I did say
Just wanted to give context to the audience.
You could have just gave the audience the context without trying to call him out and just
Really?
show
That's
what
what we're
he didn't
doing?
know.
Really?
I'm
That's what
just saying
we're
you didn't
doing?
have
I
to
did
do
say
that.
they beat the
You didn't have to
Packers
do
in
that.
Week 18, then Week 17.
You got a
Didn't I,
good
young lady?
scorecard.
Did I say that?
Yeah.
Okay, I did. So there you have it.
I just thought this was first take.
He's right on one thing. He's right on one thing.
What?
Chiefs will have trouble winning this game if Kelce doesn't play.
Travis Kelce is a huge part of this offense. But can the Chiefs still win at home against the Lions? Yes, because the Lions finished the season strong last year. But we, again, haven't seen the Lions, a lot of expectations.
Right.
They still have to win the game.
Well, we're prognosticating here.
Which is what we do on this show.
This is what we do. So we get that. Here's the point. Is Detroit what we think they are? We think they're improved. We think their coming out party was the season finale when they went to Lambeau Field, even though their playoff wasn't on the line because as a result of I forgot which game it was. Ultimately, Seattle was in the postseason. Green Bay was not. We get all of that. But the bottom line is they showed up. They had a strong last half of the season, and they won that nationally televised game on Sunday Night Football at Lambeau Field, preventing the Green Bay Packers from entering the postseason because the Green Bay had won. They were in the playoffs. So we get that part, okay? This is supposed to be their coming out party. This is supposed to be Dan Campbell and his team. This is supposed to be, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown. You got Marvin Jones Jr. That came there because, from Jacksonville, okay? His kid Josh Reynolds as well, Jameer Gibbs. You look at what they have in place. There is a poor is their defense is going to be better because it can't get no worse. It can't get no worse than it was last year. Okay, they couldn't stop a cold. So we got that going on. When you look at it from that perspective, I know that defense is going up against Patrick Mahomes, and he should shred them to pieces. We get that. But without a Tyreek Hill there any longer, okay? Without a Travis Kelce, a reliable weapon there, okay? You got Kadarius Toney. You got, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I get those relatively experienced guys and a guy like Scantling. But you should not have enough without Kelce and without Chris Jones to beat the Detroit Lions if the Detroit Lions are what we think they are. And that's what we're going to find out.
Well, throw one thing into the equation.
Yes,
I don't know what the odds are with it. I got to go look at it. But
The Chiefs by 4.5
no, I know what the
points.
spread is. I mean, the numbers. Winning the first game, if you're Detroit, on the Thursday night against the Super Bowl champ, 99% of the time, the Super Bowl champ's going to win the game. Chiefs beat Houston a couple years ago. They killed them. Last year, the Super Bowl champ was the Rams. Now, Buffalo beat the Rams. So last year, it didn't work out. But normally that first Thursday night game of the season for the road team against the team that won the championship the year before, historically, that is a very difficult game to win. So you got to keep that in mind. Now, he makes a great point. Remember last year, Kimberly, at 4 o'clock, the Rams lost to Seattle, and they should have won the game. They lost in overtime. That knocked Detroit out. An hour later, they didn't think about it. They beat Green Bay to knock them out. You would think that Detroit would be a little bummed out. They got knocked out of the playoffs at 4 o'clock because they needed a little help to get in, and they showed enough moxie to show. So you got to respect that, and you like the coach. But again, that's just. I think Kelce's going to play anyway.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to. That's a hard
You're right,
game.
though.
It's a
Your
hard game.
point, Super Bowl champs, 14-4.
Oh, there you go.
Since 2004. So you're right. They usually do get it done at home, right?
14-4, Super Bowl champs, first game against the visitor.
Well, not only that,
That's a good record.
Undefeated in their last 7 or 8 openers, too. So we got to throw that
Patrick
into consideration.
Mahomes in September, there isn't a better bet than Patrick Mahomes. So,
Understand
granted,
that? There are aberrations that take place, and I think that if you don't have Travis Kelce, this should be one of them. If Detroit is what they've been telling us they
We'll
are.
see. Guess what? I can't
We'll
wait
find
for
out.
it. By the way, Travis Kelce has never missed a game due to injury. We don't know for sure if Kelce will be out, but who do you think will benefit the most from his potential absence?
The Chargers. That's the name that come to my mind. I mean, the Khalil Mack, the Mac Daddy. I interviewed him on my podcast, Stephen A. Smith Show. I interviewed him last week.
I don't know if anybody's heard that.
I'm just saying. I just mentioned it a couple of times. Okay. Derwin James, that brother's all world. We all know this. J.C. Jackson got burnt a little bit, as Shannon Sharp and Bart Scott was pointing that out yesterday, but he's expected to make amends for that. But offensively, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, both of them there, okay? You know, I'm Austin Eckler, he there. Justin Herbert is that dude, okay? Now, we all know where I stand with Coach Brandon Staley. I mean, this brother is lucky that he was allowed back on the team playing. As far as I'm concerned, if I was Spaniards to the owners, that man would have been flying home commercial, and he'd have been informed of unemployment, okay, in the locker room in Jacksonville after that 27-point lead they had that they gave up and lost 31-30, that man would have been without a job. I'm telling you right now, I ain't playing around. He would have been without a job, getting outscored 31-3 in the second half, and you know, Trevor Lawrence picking you apart and all of that other stuff. I mean, in his first career playoff game, that man would not have had a job. He'd have lost his job, and he'd have been lucky to get a ticket home. He wouldn't have got on the team playing home. Having said all of that, Justin Herbert is special. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are special. These brothers can play, okay? And Eckler can ball too. And I think that if Travis Kelce is out, it compromises Kansas City offensively. We know they already compromised defensively, Kimberly, because you pointed out and reminded us that Chris Jones ain't there. And when the Chargers play Kansas City, they usually play them tough. And so I just think that they're the heir apparent. I still got Kansas City as those dogs. But the Chargers, I think if Travis Kelce, if he were not out, I'm saying if because we know he's not going to be out for long, but if for some reason he was compromised this season, I think the Chargers could win the division.
you said the Chargers are the heir apparent.
I'm talking about the division. In the division, if Travis Kelce's not available, the Chargers, I would pick the Chargers to supplant them as AFC West champions.
Well, I think it's cute that you said, Stephen, that the Chargers, whenever they play the Chiefs, they play them tough. I get that they're in the same division.
Yeah.
But when I think of Travis Kelce not being on the field, The team that I think benefits are the Bengals. Who's the QB that has had the most success against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs?
No, Burrow.
It's Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
So when you say stuff like heir apparent, when you think about the division, who's the best quarterback in the NFL, it's obviously Patrick Mahomes. When you think about who's number 2, it's the guy who has had the most success against Patrick Mahomes, who came this close to this team being able to rename Arrowhead Burrowhead. So for me, it's not Josh Allen, it's not the Chargers, it is not any other team, but the second best team in the AFC right now, which would be the Bengals.
I'm going to throw the production crew a curveball because I
look
just
at
thought of
that.
another team that would be more benefit.
Go. Do whatever you want.
The Jets.
Oh, no, absolutely
You know, I'm going to tell you why.
Absolutely
Well, Kim,
not.
I'll give you the reason. Who do the Chiefs play in Week 4?
Yeah,
At the Jets.
yeah.
If Kelce can't play for the first month this season, they go to New York on a Sunday night. If they ever lose, the Jets would have tiebreaker over the Chiefs in postseason play if they finish tied. Because Kelce wouldn't be there, they'd have the same record, and that means Kansas City. One thing about Mahomes that we can be fair about, he's never had to play a road playoff game. So maybe if he couldn't play in Week 4 and the Jets beat the Chiefs, and at the end of the year they're both 13-4, and they play in a championship game, the game would be in New York. I'd say the Jets.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.